as you can tell.
Technology. Wait. I'm loving life. This is amazing. I mean, we're in Ghana, like chill out. Technological.
Technological. I'm very chill.
Welcome back, guys. So this is another episode. I'm so excited. So this is a conversation that I've wanted to have for such a long time. It's really good to have him here. Omron, he'll introduce himself. So welcome back. So first, let's have the guest introduce himself, and then we'll get right into the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think it's super nice to be here. I've known Rahel for some time, so seeing her journey is pretty cool. So excited to finally make it on the podcast. And yeah, my name is Omron Blauo. I work as head of market access for Muiruri, which is the company underneath Fresenius, and we focus on digital health and being able to access new markets. It's basically my job. So excited to share that with you today and be on the podcast.
Here we are. Let's have this conversation. I mean, I'll not go back and tell you guys about the fact that I like talking about healthcare. I'm very passionate about healthcare. And the main thing about healthcare for me that is really important is accessibility of affordable healthcare. So that's why I have Omron here today to talk about that. And mainly the conversation will be about introduction of digital healthcare solutions in the African market. Why is that important? You know, I really want to find that out, and maybe he can tell us a little bit more. I think you've heard he's a head of market access, so he can tell us a little bit more. But before we get into that, let's talk to Omron. Let's get to know who he is as a person, because I mean, we need to get to know him before he starts telling us all these things that he is hopefully passionate about. So Omron, who is Omron? Tell us about Omron.
So I'm a guy here in Ghana with you, sitting down, seeing how things work in the Ghanaian market. But yeah, I love sports, I love fitness, and it kind of started to draw me to digital health and how we can kind of address problems in the market through this kind of means of access. But yeah, my background's in biomedical engineering, so I actually did my bachelor's in biology at Arizona State, and then into biomedical engineering underneath the Nobel Prize laureate, so got to do really cool stuff and work in a really cool industry.
Okay.
So we designed sensors to see if we can basically collect information off the body. This is like 2015, like right before Apple Watch, Fitbit and everything like this is really starting to scale. So on the biomedical engineering side, I actually took a risk in seeing maybe this might be the future of healthcare versus the traditional medical devices. And I think it's quite interesting to see where the market is now and how it's progressed.
That's interesting. So let me just take you back. You've talked about biomedical engineering. So let me just give you a little bit of context so that you know how to answer this question. So in the African setting, in the African society, after someone completes high school, so in my time and in the time that I completed high school, my parents just wanted me to do 3 courses. So either medicine, law, or engineering. So is it the same thing in your culture? Like your parents were like, okay, I want my child to do this specific thing. And why did you choose biomedical engineering?
Yeah, so my dad is from Libya, North Africa. So like his perspective, his culture is definitely more old-fashioned, which is probably similar to a lot of African markets. So his pressure was like, do engineering, become a doctor, or same thing, go into law. So some type of established profession.
Yeah.
But my mom on the other side is very different. She's American. She's open to new possibilities.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, just explore anything.
Okay.
But my brother has a disability, and he's had it since I was very young.
Yeah.
And it's actually what drew me to
nice.
medicine and eventually digital health and biomedical engineering.
That's really cool. That's really interesting. Cool. So as he said, we are friends. We became very fast friends. Like we met and instantly we connected. Maybe you should talk about that, because I know I have my side of the story. I don't know about your side of the story. I'm going to confirm. Just talk about it, and then I'm going to confirm whether it's the truth.
So yeah, I think we I don't know how much I should divulge here.
Just say it.
But Yeah, we actually connected through seeing if we could enter the Kenyan market, and we hit it off pretty quick and had fun, and we felt like we complemented each other, very different personalities, but we make it work. So
Yeah. But that's really cool. Like, I like that. I actually didn't know that about your brother and you wanting to get into medicine because of your brother. So that's really cool. So, head of market access, how did you get into that? Like, is it something that you thought about, like accessing Africa or playing a role in terms of accessing Africa for digital healthcare solutions? Like, how did you get into that?
yeah, kind of spontaneously, but I think it relates to like my past. So coming from biomedical engineering, always developing like products and trying to see if we can address the market. And this kind of position really is. So the reason why I decided to go into market access was pretty spontaneous. It was a job title that was given to me as like essentially a dream job where I could bring our digital health product to new markets around the world. And my background being in biomedical engineering, so coming from the product side, also shipping products and building it for the market in Africa, and knowing I guess the translation that it takes to make sure that the product meets the user's needs. So it's really fun to be able to address kind of
Yeah.
the whole pathway.
Yeah. So is it just Africa or other markets as well?
So we started in Germany and then looked towards Southern Europe, and now my specific role is looking at Africa and
Yeah.
growth there.
Yeah. So why Africa? Why did you? Okay, I know you didn't ask for this. Did it come? Like, was it just thrown on your plate? Like, okay, you're gonna do Africa, and then you said yes, or is it something that you had to choose?
So I think I definitely chose it, but my passion has always been within Africa, and my work previously was in East Africa.
Yeah.
So it just came quite naturally, and
Yeah.
the merge of our company is like trying to grow globally, and so me being from and working in Africa really helped out.
Yeah. So you said your passion is in Africa. So what do you mean by that? Like, just break it down.
Yeah, so I think if you look at most emerged economies or economies like United States or Europe, the healthcare problems aren't as big, and if they are solved, it's quite small, right? You just need to change your behavior or certain things like this, at least in the digital health side of things. But within Africa, there's such a gap in access and quality that technology and digital health can really bridge a gap, and you can see that from this really exciting emergence in the market. I think that's why I really saw quite an interesting opportunity to solve
Yeah.
a big problem.
Yeah. It wasn't really influenced by the fact that your dad is from this community or not?
I mean, deep down, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, there's always that passion in your mind
Yeah.
for learning more about your parents' culture.
Yeah.
And also just connecting with great people and really enjoying working in in these
Yeah.
countries. So
Yeah.
not just the problem, but also
Yeah.
enjoying it.
Yeah. So maybe you can just break it down a little bit. Like, what are the gaps that you're seeing in the African market? I know you've talked about access and affordability, but maybe just break it down a little bit more for guys to actually understand why you're doing this as Omron and why you're passionate about it and why your organization feels like this is the best time to actually get into the African market.
Yeah, I'll just speak for myself, is that in terms of like what the problems are within the African market, I mean, obviously every market is very different, but the gap in quality is pretty big, and also the gap in like access. So in most markets you have access to at least some sort of pharmaceuticals, but even as we learned today in Ghana, 20 to 30% are fake, right? So I think that goes down to like also quality.
Yeah.
And I guess the interest from my side in these problems is like, I guess increasing the access is most simple with technology, right? Because we can distribute at scale
Yeah.
to members or patients or lives. So kind of connecting the dots, essentially how M-Pesa started, or even Amazon and other companies have started and grown, but connecting the two seems like it's such an easy point of access.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you've been in the Kenyan market and we are here in Ghana. So, what are the things that you're seeing currently in the market that are sort of like barriers to entry? Because, I mean, we've had several discussions, but I want to get from your perspective, what are the barriers to entry, especially for your organization and similar organizations?
yeah. I mean, for the markets, every market's quite different, but I think overall across yeah, the big tech cities, I would say, or the big tech zones, so like Kenya, Ghana, Egypt, Nigeria. Um, the biggest barrier is probably like obviously just adoption and people like starting to learn about digital technologies. Maybe
Yeah.
they use mobile wallets, maybe they're familiar with like WhatsApp, but really getting introduced to yeah, digital health apps
Yeah.
is not a behavior that is currently there. So
Mm-hmm.
behavior change takes time. That's probably the biggest barrier, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And then also, yeah, I would say regulation because there's like a gray zone, right?
Yeah.
So these rules that have been established in Europe aren't so clear here yet.
Yeah.
And so it's just a learning over time that happens directly with regulators and the
Mm-hmm.
bodies that represent
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Cool. So that's interesting, but obviously it's not foreign to so many of healthcare practitioners and even any other business. It's not easy, especially on the second point that you talked about regulation. But then on the first point of change management, I mean, what can you guys do about it? Because this is something that is there. It's not going away anytime soon. We have a different generation that is coming up that's always on their mobile phone. So I don't know if that particular challenge will be addressed. I'm not really sure. But what are you guys planning to do in terms of change management? Because that's a thing in itself. Yeah?
Yeah, I think like behavior change overall takes time, like in any industry, like M-Pesa, how it started and how much time it took for adoption, just happens when need arises. So within digital health, you're gonna become more aware of like technologies around you where you need a doctor. And instead of traveling to Accra from a remote region, you're just gonna know if there's distribution accessing like a USSD code or a mobile app, you can get access to that doctor.
Yeah.
So it's always going to start with a need
Mm-hmm.
and then the access of the technology, and over time people will start to adopt and try things out.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be word of mouth.
Yeah.
Behavior change takes time, and
Yeah.
people need trust in every market, and especially, I think, African markets.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad you're giving me the sound bites for this, like things that I can latch on and maybe ask you questions. You've talked about trust.
Yeah.
How do you leverage trust so that people can actually, react in the way that you want to react to these solutions, to these digital healthcare solutions that you guys want to introduce into the market, or similar organizations, how they can do it to get into the market?
Yeah, so if we're looking at healthcare, we like in any healthcare company, whether at the digital health side, it's going to be quality. So nobody's going to use the solution where they know that they have a bad service, and especially in healthcare.
Yeah.
So no matter what, quality it has to be at a certain standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the number one. I mean, we don't even need to really talk about anything else, but if quality is really high, in terms of accessing like doctors and like pharmaceutical scripts, etc. We want to make sure that those scripts are like being able to produce, high quality medicines that aren't fake.
Yeah.
And so if we can give access to that and make sure that you can like stabilize quality and give, really high level of quality, then
Yeah. Okay. So let me challenge you on that one. So I hear you talking about quality, but then you see, and I'll give you like the basis in terms of the African context. So as an African, and let me talk about myself. As an African, when you tell me about quality, I want to see it. I want to hear about people who've experienced it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'll not talk about the experiences that we've had so far, but then, there are all these people who have this assurance of quality, but then when you get to experience it, it's a little bit different. So how would you encourage people to still, access these solutions, even if you're talking about the quality part and they haven't experienced it yet? Like, what's your basis for saying it's quality assured?
Yeah, so I think the basis is more so with like somebody who's already early adopted. And so every digital health company is gonna, be able to reach a certain population, and maybe chronic disease patients are often really in need of remote solutions because they're always going to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of like being able to get to word of mouth, you're gonna have to have early adopters in any industry, especially in digital health, right? And so their experiences are the most important. So every digital health company in Africa, I think, is trying to address that concern because hypertension, etc., are really on the rise. And so the companies that do that really well, and they're able to really like provide high quality healthcare, they're the ones that people are going to tell about, right?
Yeah.
And it's a network effect, and
Yeah.
those are what drive platform growth. So I think that's going to be key.
Okay. So telemedicine. We've talked about telemedicine. So tell us more about telemedicine. What's telemedicine? In terms of adoption into the African market. What should we know about telemedicine?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because you can get access to a doctor or any type of specialist, which, as we know, especially on the specialist side, there's not as easy access in remote regions. For example, if you have cancer or etc., like getting access to the specialist is very difficult. So telemedicine basically bridges the gap by video conferencing, a number, or maybe, for example, messaging directly with somebody that is a physician or a specialist. So telemedicine kind of covers these three areas of access. Yeah, I think that's the main point of touch
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So what is in it for the member? What is in it for, let's just say, the healthcare stakeholders, and you can talk about whichever stakeholder you're comfortable sharing, but what is in it for them? Because I mean, telemedicine came in, and I think it was very rampant, and it was people were talking about it when COVID-19 hit. And with time, it's gone down, and people have going back to hospitals because they were scared of going to hospital during that period. So, what is in it for healthcare stakeholders? What is in it for an individual to use this particular solution for their own needs, for their own medical needs?
Yeah, I think as people have tried it out, I think we'll start to see slower, still adoption over time because people have gotten introduced, they know what it is, and at least have an idea of what it is and can try it out again if they need care. But for stakeholders to start to push it out, I mean, it's really important that obviously you have really good outcomes, right? That's what the providers care about. You have really good access, and then you're solving the problem of quality. So I still think those three areas are most important for the different stakeholders in the market. And in terms of the member, the person who's actually going to use this, in every stakeholder, we need to see that people are actually using it and adopting it. So it has to solve their need, their problem. And on the continent, there's very different problems in every market. So, for example, here in Ghana, right, it's very pharmacy focused, right? Everybody goes to the pharmacy, and they're not so used to yet calling a doctor or going to the clinic as much as going to the pharmacy as the first point of care. So there's different ways to navigate this, and we're seeing some companies put diagnostics in there to add value and also increase quality to be able to give better outcomes right inside the pharmacy.
Yeah. So there's the cost element bit of it. So cost savings for the individual as well as other stakeholders.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, one of the main value additions, and that's what I think people should consider when they're thinking about such a solution. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's really interesting to know. So any other thing that you would like to tell us about coming into the African market? Maybe you can talk about your experience. What has your experience been like? Like, just generally as Omron, what has your experience been like? Do you feel challenged? Do you feel like it's so easy? Do you feel like chilled out and relaxed? Or, just share.
Yeah, no, I think there are definitely a lot of challenges, to overcome in setting up a business and trying to see if we can actually solve a problem. So in general, I think it's I think that makes things even more interesting, actually. And in terms of like digital healthcare and telemedicine and stuff like this, um, just Africa is so different. Some people just look at it as like this big kind of area on a map, right? From
Yeah.
Europe or from wherever.
Yeah.
But every market is so different.
Yeah.
The culture is different, the behavior is different,
Exactly.
the language is different,
Yeah.
the food's different.
Yes.
So everything is different, and every market has its unique challenges.
Yeah.
And so as we look at like African growth, you start to see like companies pick their hotspots, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we all know them.
Yeah.
And I think that shows like how challenging like total growth is across the market,
Yeah.
or all markets, but also that there's a lot of issues to solve in
Exactly.
every country.
Exactly. So when you say that, for me, what comes to mind is flexibility.
Yeah,
Like all these
totally.
organizations need to just be a little bit flexible. It's not going to be easy because, as you said, it's not one country. Because I've seen even in other countries, I'll not mention which ones. People think Africa is just one country,
Yeah.
which is
Crazy.
which is something that I don't understand, honestly. But yeah, so every market has its own challenges. So if an organization is going to a specific market, they have to talk to the stakeholders, have conversations like what we are having right now. Like, this is just a conversation, not just going in and thinking their solution because it's the best in Europe that it can actually work. So flexibility and adaptation. So I think those are the things that healthcare organizations, especially global healthcare organizations, need to know when they want to access, or they're coming to the African markets and they want to set up. So this is really important. And I think even for African organizations that are already in the market and are playing a role in the market, I think they still need to have consistent conversations with the stakeholders, with the different stakeholders, because things keep changing. We live in such a dynamic world, and today might be different from tomorrow. So we just need to change and adapt. And that's why I like organizations that are quite adaptable to such things, and it really makes this conversation easy. It makes this agenda very easy to push. So I'm glad that you're sharing all this with us. So any other thing that you would like us to know about accessibility of healthcare, affordability of healthcare, any other thing that you would like us to know?
I mean, what is your experience so far with telemedicine?
So I'll be very honest. I don't know if it's good to be this honest, but I haven't really experienced telemedicine actively. I have tested some solutions, and most solutions that I've come across are really good, and they're really trying to address the challenge of this remote, what do I call it? Like, is it remote consultation? And obviously the cost is a bit lower for the individual, especially if you don't have access to an insurance cover. So you're able to actually purchase such a product, and you can use it anytime that you want to consult with a doctor, either a doctor or a specialist, and it's at such a low cost. And that's not saying that you don't need insurance. I mean, insurance is important in one way or the other, but it's up to you. It's a choice. It's a personal choice. So my experience with that is, I think global organizations, the ones that have these solutions, are doing the proper thing. But then we have so many telemedicine providers. So what makes this provider stand out from that provider? Because you can never have too many, because I mean, we all know there's a challenge in the African markets that we don't have enough resources for individuals to actually get their healthcare needs met. So I will never say that there are too many telemedicine providers. What I will say is, for all these telemedicine providers, what makes you stand out? Because you cannot be the same as this other person. So maybe it's the pricing, maybe it's the value additions, and that's the thing. Those are the things that all these organizations need to be thinking about when they are coming into the market, when they're introducing all these solutions. What makes you stand out?
Yeah.
What makes you feel like, if I bring this solution into the market, people will react in the way that you want them to react? So create that USP, and definitely people will purchase it or react positively to it. So that's my experience.
What do you think the USP is?
I mean, the
Like the
USP,
strongest for
the strongest
market.
obviously is remote consultation. So not leaving my house. So convenience. We are, our generation is very aspirational. We want to have things here, like we don't want to leave the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
We just want things at our convenience. So I think the remote consultation bit is obviously the main USP. So that is obviously the main one, but then you can add others. So let's say home visits, in case I don't want to come for let's say diagnostics, if you can come to my house and collect the samples, that even makes it better for me. Yeah.
But
So
increased costs
it increased cost for you, for the
for
for the
the
provider.
whoever's paying for it.
Yeah, but then I mean you're creating value for me, so it has to be balanced. At the end of the day, it has to be balanced, and obviously your books have to balance as well, your cash flows and everything. So you have to figure it out as an organization. What can I offer to make this particular service or this particular solution be widely accepted? Yeah. So it cannot be one thing, cannot be two things, it can be a myriad of things. So what else am I thinking about? Maybe the pharmaceutical part of it. Are you offering drugs at an affordable cost compared to other pharmaceuticals? Like it can be so many things, and maybe you guys can tell us more about what you think. Telemedicine, these telemedicine providers should actually add for it to be more valuable for you as an individual, and also for the healthcare stakeholders, insurance providers, healthcare providers. What else can be added to make this particular proposition be very attractive for not just the Kenyan market but the whole African market? Because that's the essence of this conversation, is to increase accessibility across Africa. Because what I've realized is actually all African markets have the same challenge. The access, or let's say the percentage of people covered in terms of healthcare, is very low. So the insurance providers normally compete for such a small part of the population, and then for the public insurance, it covers quite a large number, but then it doesn't really offer all the services that individuals require. So let's hear from you guys. I really love to hear from you guys. What else do you think should be added to this telemedicine proposition to make it quite attractive in your market, whichever market you're in? Yeah.
But I have a question for you.
Yes, please go ahead.
So, public insurance.
Yeah.
Like, do you see that most African markets are talking about universal healthcare coverage
Yeah.
and moving that way? Do you think this kind of like one payer is the right solution for the market now and also in the future?
I mean, it's a government, and they came up with this particular organization for them to actually uphold this particular agenda, because it's in the constitution for most of the countries. So it's in the constitution that you have to have healthcare for all, so universal healthcare coverage. Yes, so it's there. So there has to be a body that governs that. So that you can never change that. What I think can actually accelerate, let's say, proper healthcare, and I'm saying proper very loosely. So what can accelerate that is public-private partnerships. Yeah? So if you have such kind of partnerships, that will actually leverage on the synergies of both, because for the public or the public body, they have trust from the citizens, and on the private side, maybe they have the technological solutions, maybe they have the resources and the capacity to do the things that maybe on the public side it's not possible. So if you leverage on your strengths, on the strength of the public and the private, then I think the agenda can be accelerated much faster. And maybe one thing I should mention is why I think this is not working right now is because of just some interests that are obviously not aligned to this topic that we're talking about, accessibility of affordable healthcare. So there are other interests that come into play, which is quite unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. So what can we do to go beyond that and do what we need to do to make sure that a lot more people get access to healthcare? Yeah.
And do you think that's like the best way, through public health insurance?
I don't think there's any other way, honestly.
Yeah.
Public, private,
for total coverage.
Partnerships. Yes, insurance. But then, I mean, even for the insurance side, just beyond the 2-3%, there's all these other markets on the micro side, where they can play a role. So coming up with solutions and coming up with products that are affordable, that, I mean, a normal person or anyone can actually afford.
Yeah.
So the insurance providers also have that mandate to come up with these products, or to again reach out to partners that have done this or have technological solutions that can help them co-create solutions that will actually push the agenda for acceleration of healthcare.
Yeah.
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 So
The synergies between public health insurance to grow
Yeah.
and the digital health solutions for access seem
Yeah.
like so strong.
yeah, so there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
You just have to try out all these things. And the good thing I like about some of the conversations we've been having, even as we are here in the Ghana market, is piloting, like proving the concept. So try out something. If it works, then hopefully you get a good partner, and then you push it out and it becomes quite big. So I think there's a solution for everything. We just have to look deep inside and to have uncomfortable conversations. We need to challenge ourselves. We need to look at things more from the interest of the individuals and other stakeholders to make it, so that it goes beyond ourselves. It goes beyond the organization. It's about the whole play. It's not just about the organization or the individual or whatever you would call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been such an interesting conversation, and let me tell you guys, like, these conversations can never end. I'll always meet all these individuals who will tell me all these different things about healthcare and what they think about healthcare. The guys who have been in this industry for such a long time, you guys even have more insight than myself or Omron. So, I mean, this is something that I really want to do. Just have conversations with different individuals, with organizations, and see what can we do. Because, as I said in one of the episodes, I'd really want us to go beyond the conversations, because these conversations have been hard for such a long time. So can we go beyond the conversations? Can we implement? Can you implement, Omran? Can you go beyond this?
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that. I'm gonna hold you to that. Trust you me, I'm gonna hold
it.
you to that. Yeah, so I want to thank Omron. Thank you for being my guest today. You have been so gracious. Thank you for honoring me. Thank you for being on Stories and Conversations. I hope you will join us again another time
Absolutely.
to tell us about the launch, and
The
if
launch.
you got into the
There
market.
we go. After
Yeah.
that, because I'm pretty busy until then. I think you know.
Yeah, you're always busy. Yeah, so I can't wait for you to come back and tell us your experience, because I really love to hear and see whether you guys will actually have accomplished what you want to accomplish in these markets.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Do you have any other thing to say?
No, thank you for having me. It's been a super fun conversation, and if anybody has questions, always happy to answer them in the comments or wherever this is getting posted. But yeah, no, I think this is really exciting.
But actually, you can actually tell us maybe where someone can reach out to you. Like, do you have like a contact? What would you like to share in terms of your contact and how people can reach you?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is the easiest. So LinkedIn/Omron, and you'll find me. So that'd be the best place, and happy to message anybody who reaches out. And I think there's lots of exciting companies in the digital health space and lots of stakeholders, but always open for a conversation.
Awesome. This is really cool. This has been so cool. Signing out, guys.